Trapped underground for over 2 months. All hope lost. Hungry, tired, afraid. This was the fate of the 33 miners in the summer of 2010 as the devastating story unfolded. Chile captured the attention of the world. August 5th, 2010. Deep in the San José Mine near Copiapó, 33 miners were trapped underground for over 2 months. Mining is already known as a tough and risky job. It has dangers like chemical exposure, high temperatures, and major injuries. But the situation in San José was even worse. The mine had a history of incidents. Sadly, the owners were more focused on making money than keeping the miners safe. Despite the dangers, the miners reported to work as usual. On August 5th, 33 of them went to work. They needed the money. They had families to take care of. Even though the conditions were tough, their resilience never waned. Little did they know what awaited them, or the horrors they would face. On that day, disaster struck, and the world watched as the drama of the trapped miners unfolded. Their lives were at risk. The San José Mine, although not among the largest copper mines in Chile, had its own reputation. Chile is known for its copper production. The country earns billions of dollars from exports. This makes the demand for copper quite high. The San José Mine stood out for paying higher wages than average. This wasn't out of generosity from the bosses. The mine was notorious for its dangerous conditions. To attract workers, the owners had to offer higher wages, making it seem like a good deal. Behind the scenes, the owners cut corners on safety measures to save costs. The San Esteban Mining Company operated the San José Mine. Between 2004 and 2010, it faced fines 42 times for violating safety rules. This number would likely have been higher if there were more inspectors. There were only 3 inspectors for the entire region. Miners at San José had been voicing concerns about unsafe conditions. Prior to the disaster, 8 people had lost their lives due to poor safety standards. Those who worked there were even called kamikazes. It seemed inevitable that neglecting safety measures would lead to a tragedy eventually. No one knew that the day had arrived. On August 5th, 2010, mine supervisor Luis Urzua led his crew on a 12-hour shift. They were positioned 3 miles away from the mine entrance, in 2,300 feet or 700 meters deep. It seemed like any other day in the mine. Men were hard at work. The sound of drills echoed through the mine. The miners toiled for copper as sweat dripped down their bodies. The day started like any other for Luis Urzua and his crew at the San José Mine. On August 5th, 2010, they were deep underground, working hard to extract copper. Suddenly, they felt intense vibrations followed by a deafening explosion. It was as if the whole mountain was collapsing on them. In reality, a massive block of stone had broken off, causing the collapse of the entire mine. The lack of proper supports in the mine walls only made matters worse. The miners couldn't see anything for a while. When the dust settled, the miners found themselves trapped, 300 feet below the surface, with little food and water. There was darkness and a feeling of doom. Despite the uncertainty, the miners held on to hope. They regrouped and searched for ventilation shafts, hoping for a way out. It seemed like a good idea to use the ventilation shaft as a possible escape route. This idea turned out to be futile because the shaft lacked ladders. This was yet another safety oversight by the mine management. It couldn't get any worse. 2 days later, on August 7th, another collapse occurred. This time, it completely blocked access to the shaft. Now, the fate of the miners rested in the hands of the surface rescuers. Breaching through a stone block weighing 770,000 tons proved to be impossible. The rescuers held little hope that anyone inside had survived. Upon hearing the news, the president of Chile, Sebastián Piñera, did something unexpected. He cut short his trip and made the rescue of the miners the government's top priority. The Minister of Mining arrived at the scene. He entrusted the rescue mission to professionals from Codelco, the state-owned mining company. The government was determined to do everything possible to save the miners. The cost was a non-issue. The 33 lives trapped in the mine were more important. The first task for rescuers was to locate the miners. They began drilling exploratory boreholes. They then sent listening probes to detect any signs of life. At first, the search didn't find anything. Despite being in trouble, the mine owners did not care. They went ahead and gave the rescue teams old and wrong maps. Due to the second collapse, the rescue teams lost all hope. It would have been harder for the miners to survive. Even so, the rescue team kept going and didn't give up on finding them. The incident was gaining international recognition by this time. Families of the trapped men came to the mine. They united together, praying for a miracle. A miner's job is a lot like a soldier's. They both need to follow orders and rules to the letter. It was sheer luck that the accident happened when the shift supervisor, Luis Urzua, was in charge. Urzua was a great leader. After the accident, he gathered his team and figured out what to do. When they couldn't get out right away, he made sure they had everything they needed to stay alive for a long time. Urzua took immediate action by relocating the men from the shelter. They went into the tunnels with better ventilation. He mapped out the mine and created a plan. There were specific areas for sleeping, working, and even a makeshift sanitary facility. Establishing a strict set of rules was paramount, and Urzua emphasized compliance. He knew that things would get ugly if the men were left to their thoughts. He had an understanding of the gravity of their situation. He knew there would be a lengthy rescue timeline. As a result, he rationed their emergency food supply to minimal portions. Each worker received only 2 spoons of tuna and half a glass of milk every 48 hours. The ration may have been meager, but it was sufficient to sustain everyone. Yet, more crucial than combating hunger was addressing the workers' mental well-being. Urzua devised a strategy to keep them engaged by maintaining a 12-hour shift schedule. He utilized the lights from mining trucks to mimic sunlight. This enabled the men to maintain their regular daily routines. Nonetheless, life inside the mountain remained exceptionally challenging for the miners. Each miner endured a weight loss of approximately 17.5 to 20 pounds due to malnourishment. Many also suffered from eye and lung infections caused by the dust cloud that engulfed the collapsed mine. During one probe effort, the miners heard the drills near them. When the drill emerged at the surface, a note had been attached to it. The note said that all the 33 miners were alive and staying at the shelter. Once communication was restored with the outside world, life for the miners improved slightly. Initially, they received fresh water and calorie-enriched milk. Later, solid food was provided. However, miners were cautioned not to gain too much weight, as they needed to fit through the escape tunnel being prepared by the rescue team. As time went by, the number of deliveries to the miners increased. They received foldable beds, camping showers, video and music players, books and games to keep themselves entertained. When the third borehole was drilled, enriched oxygen was pumped into the mine. However, the most challenging issue was the prolonged time the miners spent in a confined space. To address this, the Chilean government consulted NASA experts to help the miners cope with the problem. Can you imagine spending 24 hours per day in a hole thousands of feet below the surface? This was too much of a burden, even for miners accustomed to working in such conditions. The situation was made worse by the assessment of a rescue plan. It was determined that rescuers would need at least 4 months to reach them. Meanwhile, rescuers were making plans on how to extract the trapped miners. They devised 3 plans, A, B, and C, each involving different drills and drilling methods. Eventually, the Plan B drill team, using a Teal 130XD core drill, was the first to reach the miners. The team began drilling on September 5th, 1 month after the collapse. They drilled a 28-inch wide hole at an angle of 82 degrees. This way, they connected the surface with the workshop inside the mine. The hole was created in 3 stages to ease the pressure on the drill and reduce the risk of a new collapse. Throughout the entire operation, trapped miners worked in shifts. They helped to remove the debris left by the drilling operation. On October 9, 2010, the Plan B hole was completed. A specially designed capsule for extracting the miners had been produced. It was named Phoenix 2 and was brought to the site. It was painted in the colors of the Chilean national flag. The rescue operation commenced 3 days later, on October 12th. It took engineers some time to mount the capsule. The rescue operation was named San Lorenzo, after the miners' patron saint, St. Lawrence. It commenced on October 12th at 23:18 hours. The Phoenix 2 capsule descended a rescue worker, Manuel Gonzalez. He was to coordinate the operation from the mine. The first miner to ascend to the surface was Florencio Avalos. He was Urzua's deputy, chosen for his skill in case of any issues with the capsule. At IRL 11 hours on October 13th, he appeared on the surface after spending 69 days trapped in the mine. He was greeted with the sounds of the national anthem. He was happy to see the president of Chile and a crowd of miners' family members. These family members never gave up. They had spent weeks at the site, eagerly awaiting their loved ones. So great was this rescue that a tent city developed around it. There was a play area for children, a school, and a cafe. Police officers and soldiers were maintaining order and security in that area. The entire rescue operation, as well as the event itself, was broadcast worldwide. The last miner to be extracted, at 21:55, was Luis Urzua. The entire accident was described as a nightmare. Luckily, it slowly transformed into a dream filled with hope. Still, the aftermath of the Copiapó mining accident was far from rosy for most of the miners. After being rescued, miners were granted 6 months of health care. The oldest miners were given lifetime pensions. For some time after the accident, miners enjoyed the attention of the entire nation. Many of them traveled abroad to hold motivational lectures. Most of these were based on their traumatic experiences. After a while, the media frenzy ended and the attention faded away. The miners started to face the consequences of the trauma they suffered. A number of miners were unable to cope and eventually turned to alcohol and drug abuse. The owners of the San José Mine, most responsible for the accident, got off relatively easy. They had to sell their business to cover the rescue costs. The rescue costs reached $20 million. Unfortunately, they were relieved from all charges. This includes neglecting the safety of their employees. Copper production in Chile continued in the same manner as before the accident. The Copiapó mining incident was a terrifying experience that captured global attention. The miners' resilience and the dedication of rescue teams were commendable. This resulted in their eventual safe rescue. However, the aftermath revealed ongoing challenges for the miners. It highlighted the critical need for improved safety measures in mining operations. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.